O Canada, our home and nation. O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
That was a little rockier than our national anthem usually is. I apologize for that, everybody. A little technical difficulty. We would like to acknowledge the treaty lands and territory of the Williams Treaty Nations and of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is the traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee and is home to many Indigenous people today. Tonight's meeting is being aired on public television and or streamed live and may be taped for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of tonight's meeting. Any member of the public connecting via telephone is reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. Please remain muted until the chair requests comments or questions from the public. We did have a closed session of council, and there is a resolution coming out of there that report CPS 2024 that the minutes of the 2024 May 13th closed council meeting be approved, and that report CPS 2024-41 committee updates and appointments regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, be received, and that council accept the resignation of Mark Whitcomb from the Sustainable Orangeville Committee and proceed with option 2 to proceed with advertising to fill the vacancy, and that council accept the resignation from Wendy Cook from the Access Orangeville Committee and proceed with option 2 to proceed with advertising to fill the vacancy, and that council directs staff to proceed with advertising to fulfill upcoming vacancies for the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council Committee pending received resignations, and that the CAO work plan performance update regarding labor relations or employee negotiations be received, and that staff proceed as directed. Can I have a motion, council, please? Councillor McIntosh and Councillor Stevens, questions or comments? I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. I am excited to be here tonight to start with a bit of a community recognition. The Ontario Senior of the Year Award is presented each year to a senior in the community who has enriched the social, cultural, or civic life in his or her community. It's my absolute honor and pleasure to have some time tonight during our council meeting to present the Ontario Senior of the Year Award to a lifelong resident and contributor to the betterment of Orangeville and Dufferin County, someone whose contributions to our community have left a profound impact, the one and only Wayne Townsend. Wayne, I would like to invite you up to the delegation table first, if you just want to have a seat there. I do have some other remarks, but I wanted you at the table for them. So if you want to have a seat there, Wayne, that would be great. Wayne's dedication and passion have touched countless lives in Orangeville and the surrounding Dufferin County area. His long career at the Museum of Dufferin is legendary, where he not only preserved Dufferin County history, but also made it come alive to all who visited. Prior to that, owning and operating the Paradise Restaurant, Wayne created a gathering place that became the heart of town. His creativity shone through when he ran the art department for Orangeville's first bilingual printing company, and I can say without a doubt that if I have a question about the history of our community, Wayne is my first call. On a bit of a side note to that, I can guarantee that I will not only get the historical facts, but I will also get all of the flair and added detail that I know only Wayne can provide. Wayne's involvement in the restoration of significant historical buildings like the County of Dufferin building on Zina Street and of this town hall is a testament to his commitment to preserving the heritage and beauty of our town. His passion for inclusion has been a beacon of hope and safety, particularly for the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. As one of the founding members of Celebrate Your Awesome and as a volunteer in the very early days of the Glow Group at Dufferin Child and Family Services, Wayne has tirelessly worked to create spaces where everyone feels welcome and valued. In addition to his advocacy, Wayne has been a driving force behind numerous tourism, cultural, and historical projects, too many to name tonight, otherwise we'd be here all night.
Be over in 5 minutes.
Bringing vibrancy and recognition to Orangeville. His role as a fall fair judge and his presence as an MC at countless events have made him a cherished figure in our community. Wayne is also a two-time author, sharing his vast knowledge and passion for our local history and cultures through his writings. His books are a valuable resource for both current and future generations. And a side note to Nancy Frater, they're available for purchase at our local bookstore, Booklore. Wayne's dedication extends today to his volunteer work, not only with Celebrate Your Awesome, but also with Seconds Count, where he's given his time to support our hospital and all of those in need with his many community projects. As his incredible husband, John, told me when I asked for additional information, the thing about Wayne is that he just does what needs to be done when it needs to be done. And that sums it up pretty perfectly. On a personal note, Wayne is a very dear friend of mine and of many in this community. I think he knows probably everybody in the gallery here today. And his selflessness, enthusiasm, and unwavering commitment to making Orangeville a better place have not gone unnoticed. On behalf of Town Council and the entire community, it is my absolute privilege to present you with the Ontario Senior of the Year Award. Congratulations, and thank you for everything you've done and continue to do for our town. I'd like a round of applause for that one. And before I give Wayne a chance to talk and we take a quick recess to the official award presentation, I do want to invite a special guest who we have with us today, our Member of Provincial Parliament, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, the Honourable Sylvia Jones. Come on up to the mic, Sylvia, and please say a few words on behalf of the Province of Ontario. Minister Jones.
A bit intimidating because not entering. Yeah. Well, congratulations, Wayne.
Thank you.
As we were all jumping ahead on the O Canada, it occurred to me that Wayne has always and often been leading edge, so it was very appropriate.
I agree.
I just want to congratulate Council for nominating Wayne. Very, very appropriate. When I think of all of the events and the participation that you have driven in our community, not only in Orangeville, but of course in Dufferin as well, right to what were you doing with the International Plowing Match and judging the plowing queens? I'm not really sure what Wayne knew about plowing, but he chose very wisely because we got a queen from Dufferin Caledon. So congratulations. I know that many people, when they finish their public service, yes, I'm looking at the staff, often take a break and just want to do their own thing. And Wayne, you have continued to give back, whether it is to quote a former Governor General, your time, your talent, or your treasure, you've always been there. And we've noticed and we appreciate it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we'll give the man of the hour a moment to say a few words. Over to you, Wayne.
All right. Thank you. Mayor Post, Deputy Mayor Taylor, town councillors. I'm indeed humbled by the honor of being recognized by the town that I've enjoyed living in for the past 54 years after leaving the farm in Monticello. When Lisa told me about this honor tonight, I suggested to her that perhaps they should wait until I actually was a senior. She quickly reminded me that perhaps I was actually overqualified. And then I was going to spend these few minutes finishing the presentation that I couldn't do last week, but the gentleman that I am, I thought I'd not do it. I accept this honor on behalf of all seniors of Orangeville. I know of many of our charities, churches, hospitals, and social institutions could not exist without their hard work and many causes. Seniors are the unpaid backbone of Orangeville. As a senior, I tend not to dwell on what I have done, but I try to focus on what I still want to do. There is still much to do for the homeless and for the LGBTQ2+ youth in our community. There are still many stories of Orangeville yet to be rediscovered, and I want to bring them back to life. I still have to fulfill my lifelong dream of becoming Orangeville's first go-go boy. I have learned through the years that it's not fear of the changes that are ahead that's let's start again. I have learned through the years that it's not fear of the changes that are ahead, but to accept the changes that are going to happen to our legacies that are left behind. That's the real challenge. Accepting new directions and even celebrating them in all these places. Even eventually, I've started to accept calling the MOD, the Dufferin County Museum and Archives, the MOD. Orangeville has given me a foundation of home. I met so many to whom home is a place of unpleasant memories, violence, displacement, loneliness, and an absence of beauty. I have only wonderful memories of my life here and have been given the gift of joy from the friends I have made here. Indigenous culture teaches us that we live as long as someone tells our story. I can hope for no greater honor than that. And tonight you have enriched my story and my life in Orangeville as well, and I thank you very much.
Now with that, you don't get to leave quite yet, Wayne. We are going to take just a 5-minute recess to allow us to actually officially present the award and to do some photos in the atrium. So I will meet you out there in just a second. Yes, you can pull up your pants. We'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for indulging me in the short break. It's a huge congratulations again to Wayne Townsend. We're going to move in now to our regular business, starting with the adoption of minutes from a previous council meeting. The recommendation is that the minutes of the following meeting be approved, which is from June 3rd. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Sherwood and Councillor Stevens. Questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. We will move into question period. Is there any members of the public connecting via telephone? Okay, so is there anybody in the gallery who wishes to ask a question? Seeing none, we'll move into presentations, petitions, and delegations, beginning with Joan Hillock from Amelia Street regarding an excessive water bill. Joan, I will turn it over to you if you just want to come up to the delegation desk. We just need the mic on. There we go. You pull it up so we can hear you.
I'm Pam Hillock, Joan's daughter, representing her, and she is just here to answer any questions that council has. She has correspondence on the agenda regarding her water bill.
I don't believe that correspondence is on the agenda. Oh, yes, it is. My apologies. Thank you. I do have it. Thank you. Was there any questions from any members of council? No, seeing none. Okay. At this time, it does not appear we have any questions, so I will move into 13.2, which is Wendy Cook, the founder and president of Community Team of Every Kids Park. Wendy?
Thank you for allowing me to present, Mayor Post and councillors. It's my first time back in quite a few years, so bear with me. I'm not a Toastmaster. I'm just a concerned citizen, okay? I'm happy to be here with you. I'm going to ask for an extension of 5 more minutes. I promise to be very wary of time because I too am an Oilers fan and I won't take up more time than I'm allowed, but I'd be grateful. It's going to take me a minute it's taken me 2 years to get here to have this conversation with you. At what was supposed to be an inclusive playground in Orangeville, $100,000 playground on Breeden Parkway. I almost had a fatal accident with my son 2 years ago. It's taken me about 2 years to calm down and come over the stress and the trauma of that incident. I almost completely tipped his wheelchair onto a hard surface coming off the walkway, the bridge coming off the play structure there. Keaton could have broken his collarbone. He could have had a brain injury, a concussion, broken his arm, all manner of things. I considered suing the third-party intervention people who were supposed to make sure that the playground was safe before it was given to the public. Instead, I had a meeting with Ray Osborne at the time, who assured me that he'd come at 5 o'clock and take the yellow tape and close it off and make it safe for other people before it was opened again. It wasn't there, and it's never been changed. And I'm here, respect for other families like mine and people using the same service. I'm here primarily to remind people that there was a tremendous amount of community support that happened when we built the original Every Kids Park. There was Frankie Chesler gave us the first award she received for winning with her horse. Don Daynard twice gave his free time to put on a dance for us for Every Kids Park to raise funds. The gentleman who did our logo for us donated his time to do that. It was very much a community program, and I don't know that you know, but do you know that because of the community support we had for the program, including the town of Orangeville and county council, and it really was a community effort, we went on to help build across Canada and into Bermuda and Germany. We had phone calls come 27 other parks that came out of Every Kids Park. Mayor Drew Brown, in fact, gave me the keys of Orangeville to go to Lethbridge when I was invited by the mayor and a community group there raising funds to build a playground there. And then the hospital wanted to build a community playground there. What I'm here to do tonight is basically to ask for a resolution that going forward, all playgrounds must include the community, that there must be an effort made to ask the community to participate. If you're a stakeholder, if you're a family member who pays taxes in county council, that you have a right to ask to be included in the vendor selection, the location of the park, possibly the inclusion of park equipment, so that the current families in Dufferin County will have access and will have enjoyable play with their families that are safe and life supporting. And it's very important for me to do this because I don't want anyone else to be at risk. But, you know, I know that the community supports the program as a community build. Not that we put hammers and nails into Every Kids Park, but when I think of every member who put muscle and time in over 3 years to raise over $300,000 of volunteer money fundraised. 70,000 came from this council when Mayor Rob Adams was here in 2 sessions. He also got us the land for the playground. We were able to build beside the water park that was already $100,000 was already put aside for that. You know, there was so much support that went on for it that came from the community itself that said they were ready, that all children would be included in the playgrounds. And if you go now to see some of these parks, you might be wondering where some of these kids are. And I can tell you that we were at one point called to be the ambassadors in Canada for Boundless Playgrounds. That meant that there was a 70% full inclusion rate. We wanted the park to represent as many families as possible with children with differing disabilities as possible so that most of the children could play together. They're not there now because the last 3 parks that were built, including the $1 million park at Harvey Curry Park now, has it's lost its status. It's not 50% inclusive. It'd be lucky to get to a 30% inclusion, and we've lost our status as being the Canadian ambassadors for Boundless Playgrounds.
Ms. Cook, I'm going to stop you there for just a second. I do want to turn it over to Ms. Savage to talk a little bit about the community consultation portion and what goes into when we do create parks. I am conscious of time. So Ms. Savage?
Thank you, Mayor Post. Hello, Ms. Cook. Listening intently, learning about the history, so thank you very much for that. And so when we do community consultation, I believe the most recent one would have been for Rotary Park. That's a 6-phase construction project. I believe the community was consulted and the design concepts were designed and created based on stakeholder feedback, our user group feedback, and as we move forward in doing other parks, we will continue to do outreach to the community. There is a procurement policy in place. So when you talk about vendor selection, if you have someone that we could supply the procurement package to, definitely we can add them to the list and make sure that they get the package, but we would have to follow our procurement policy. You talked about vendor selection and design. If there was any other ideas, feel free to reach out.
Oh, I will. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Was there any members of council who had any questions for Ms. Cook? No? More than anything else, Ms. Cook, I just really wanted to thank you because I do know all the work that you did in advocacy to create the initial conception of Every Kids Park, having sat as part of the Access Orangeville Committee during the last term. And I know you attended numerous of our meetings and you and I have had a number of conversations. When it comes to the current state of Harvey Curry Park, I just wanted to let you know too that there was significant community consultation that went into that, including several visits to the park with active family members having a say in kind of what happens with the structure of the park. So we do include community consultation in all of our parks. So it would be great. Maybe one addition that we could take away from this is to ensure that those park plans are also run through Access Orangeville. That might be a nice extra step that we can add into our ongoing process, just to make sure that that accessibility is definitely prioritized as top of mind.
Mayor Post, I just need to comment that when I went to that consult at the park where we were supposed to go and have our say and ask questions and give input from community members. Well, I was told, actually, it was more of a show and tell. The ink was dry, the orders had been sent out. It wasn't so much a community consult. It was this is what's coming, and we hope you like it. And at $1 million that comes from taxpayer funds, I think we can do better than that. I know that the community wants better than that, and we need it. And I'm just saying it doesn't always turn out that way, that there's a lot of community input. Maybe there needs to be earlier messaging in the newspapers or to the community that they have these town hall meetings, etc. But my experience from actually showing up in this uniform when that opportunity came at the park, no, it was already a done deal. $1 million structure that we have to live with for 20 years.
No, we appreciate your feedback and we will definitely take that away. I saw Heather making furious notes. So thank you for being here, Ms. Cook. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Up next, we do have Rosie Kaur, who's here, founder of Early Concepts. Who I believe is joining us virtually. Is she here? Yeah. Rosie, if you're there, you can, oh, there we go. Perfect.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. My name is Rosie Kaur, and I'm delighted to be here. I'm an educator here in Caledon, Ontario, with over 22 years of educational experience. I stand before you today virtually to tell you about the Patka Box movement. It's an initiative that has quickly gained momentum and touched many lives within our community. This movement began with a simple yet profound phone call. A teacher from the Peel Region School found herself in a dilemma. She wanted to help a young Sikh student who had requested assistance on tying the patka. A patka is a traditional Sikh head covering worn by children. Lacking the knowledge and skills to fulfill this request, she reached out to me to help her. The only way that I could help her was to use one of my students who wears the patka and do a WhatsApp video chat to help her understand how to retie the patka. This small act of seeking assistance sparked an idea. What would happen if not only one teacher did not know how to put the patka back on, but there were many teachers in the school board that didn't understand what to do at that moment? The Sikh community was so fascinated by the movement that I had created, their sense of solidarity and service. They responded so quickly by letting me know that they have my support. Recognizing the importance of cultural sensitivity and inclusion in our schools, I decided that the Patka box needed to be created. These boxes are designed to provide teachers and school staff with the tools and knowledge they need to assist Sikh students in tying the patka. Each patka contains instructional materials, video tutorials along with educational resources that I put together, as well as what the Patka and what the meanings behind the Patka is, fostering greater understanding and respect within the environment. What makes the Patka Box movement particularly remarkable is when the City of Brampton Councillor Gurpratap Singh Toor found out about my initiative. He asked me to do a delegation with the City of Brampton. I had no idea what a delegation meant. I had no idea what I was going to let the council know, but I stood there in front of council and I talked about my journey just like I am with all of you tonight. He then stated a motion needs to be passed through the City of Brampton on recognizing the resource kit to be placed now, not only in schools, but also in rec centers and aquatic centers. My heart stopped. I didn't know what to say at that moment because I did not know that this movement was going to get bigger than it is. A motion was made. The Region of Peel decided to follow along. The City of Mississauga, Councillor Brad Butt, approved the motion. The Town of Caledon, Christina Early, as well as Dave Sheen, councillors, decided to follow along with the motion. So now over 500 professional learning training by myself has been created for the Region of Peel for all staff members to be able to use and understand how to utilize the Patka Box. The impact of the Patka Box movement has been profound. Schools and rec centers now have adopted the program and has noticeably increased a cultural awareness and sensitivity among staff and students. Sick children feel more comfortable and confident knowing that their cultural practices are understood and respected. Moreover, this initiative has sparked meaningful conversations about diversity and inclusion, paving the way for similar efforts to support students from other cultural backgrounds. In recognizing and supporting the Patka Box movement, we affirm our commitment to fostering an inclusive community where every individual, regardless of their cultural or religious background, feels valued and respected. This initiative exemplifies a spirit of community engagement and collaboration that we strive to uphold. As I look into the future, I'm hoping that the town of Orangeville will work with me to bring the Patka Box movement into your city. Whether through partnering with local rec center organizations, the support will come a long way. In conclusion, the Patka Box movement, which started from a simple phone call, has blossomed into a cultural and more inclusive understanding. It serves as a powerful reminder that small acts of kindness and curiosity can lead to significant and positive change. On a personal note, when my father passed away in 2013 in hospice, he held my hand and he said these words, "Rosie, one day you will help the world of children psychologically. You will help them grow and you will help them learn in this beautiful, diverse community." My father came in 1973 in Brantford, Ontario, where he built the first Sikh temple there. Alongside the community, they recognized him for his selfless service to the community. His best friend was Walter Gretzky. So we were always involved with the Gretzkys growing up, and they did teach my brothers how to play hockey wearing the Patka. So today, I hope to continue to build a community where diversity is celebrated and everyone feels a sense of belonging, one Patka Box at a time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kaur. That's really wonderful, the work that you're doing. Councillor Andrews has a question. I'll start with you.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. And Ms. Kaur, I'm absolutely enamored to have you present this evening. I'm the chair of the town's EDI committee. And I was, in fact, informed of your presentation through the manager of Recreation, Sharon Doherty. She had spoken so highly about your initiative. And, you know, our Sikh community here is growing. Respect and diversity and inclusion is paramount as part of our terms of reference, but also under my leadership of this particular committee and working with town staff as well through our corporate services. There are a couple of thoughts that I have to this. And again, as much as I think that, the idea of putting a motion forward is intriguing, what I'd like to do is invite you to our next EDI committee meeting so that we can put forth an opportunity for further dialogue, but also an appropriate motion at the right time, most likely in the fall of 2024, to look at this as an opportunity not only to include this in a recreation center. As an educator, I'm hoping that you've had the opportunity to speak with members of the Upper Grand District School Board and the Dufferin Peel Catholic School Board, even some of our private educators here. This is imperative. Education is imperative, and understanding and respect is also part of that. So I don't really have a question. I'm just enamored by your whole concept here, what you've done, the inspiration that you've had. And, the inspiration of the Gretzky's also, I think, really caught my ear too as well. But I think that your father provided you with some incredible guidance, and you have taken it to a different level. So congratulations. And again, I do look forward to the opportunity of having you attend our future EDI committee meeting and moving forward with a motion sometime in the fall of this year.
Is there any additional questions from any members?
I do,
Council?
sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I do have one last thing that I would like to invite you all to. The Sick Film Festival is happening September 28 at the City of Brampton. They're starting again. And there was a Patka Box documentary that was created by Sick Motions. So they are going to be having a big Sick Film Festival showcasing the Patka Box movement.
Wonderful. If you can send that information to our clerk's department, they can get it distributed to all of council as well. Was there any additional questions? The only one comment that I wanted to add on to what Councillor Andrews already said is that I thought you were going to put forward a motion tonight, and I was ready to second it for you. The one thing that I would like to see as well discussed is the opportunity to have them in our libraries as well. I think that's another opportunity for a different venue outside of just the recreation centers. And I think we'll have a great opportunity to also collaborate with the school board, our new school board trustee, and others. So thank you very, very much for being here. I look forward to seeing a motion in the fall come from Councillor Andrews and his EDI committee.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, I will invite Grant Armstrong from the OPP Orangeville Detachment Board to present the OPP Detachment Board's 2024 annual report. I will note to council that Mr. Armstrong has requested ahead of time to have 10 minutes to delegate, and I would need a motion to grant that additional time. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor McIntosh and Councillor Stevens, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Mr. Armstrong, you do have 10 minutes now, so I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for having me tonight. So before I jump into our quick presentation, thought I'd take a moment and introduce all the members of the Orangeville OPP Detachment Board. Some of you may know it as formerly as the Police Services Board. With some of the changeover over the last year with some of the policies, it is now known as the Orangeville OPP Detachment Board. If anybody can find a great acronym for that, happy to listen. So a couple of members as well as on council, our Mayor, Lisa Post, our Deputy Mayor and the Chair of the Detachment Board, Todd Taylor. At the back, Ian McSweeney, Jacqueline Weatherby, and Mary Lou Archer, who is the EA to the board. We also have Warren Maycock. He's not able to be here today. He is traveling in Portugal, so we will let him have that. So am I doing the slides or? Okay, awesome, perfect. So the purpose tonight is as part of the CSPA, which is a Community Safety and Policing Act of 2019, the detachment boards are required to provide a presentation or an annual report to the applicable council. So today we're here to provide you that annual report. The context is this is due every year by June 30th. So council will be expecting to see one of these every single year. And the ultimate goal of either tonight or post tonight would be to get feedback from council on the format and the content and whether that is applicable to what you're looking for, if there's something different, so that we can incorporate that into future presentations. So the draft board is broken into two parts. Just as a little note, as this is the first year that many of the detachment boards are presenting a report, the ministry is actually considering a deadline extension to June 30th of 2025. However, very proud to announce that this board is going to be well prepared to be able to meet the one for June 30th this year. Our report is broken into two parts. I'm not going to go through all the lines, but happy to take any questions. The first part does discuss local initiatives that the board has prioritized in consultation with the detachment commander. This includes budgetary, commentary engagement activities, crime information. It will also include the latest board action register showing all the projects and the status of each project, as well as a general service standard work plan by the board. So when you have a moment, if you go through the board presentation or the draft presentation, you'll be able to see all the different tabs that we have on there. Any questions so far? May not need the whole 10 minutes.
We'll wait till the end and we'll ask.
All right, perfect. The part 2 is more of an operational portion, which includes the provincial and local information on policing provided by the ministry, the OPP, and the detachment commander. So this is going to consist of the most recent strategic plan, also the local action plan prepared by the detachment commander, and the annual progress report, again, prepared by the detachment commander. There will also be a copy of the OPP Commissioner's annual report that will be issued out. All of these documents will be listed as part of the Appendix B as well. So just again, a couple of last minute points. The annual report will be delivered on time. If there's any parts that we're continuing to wait, we'll deliver what we have by June 30th, and then any other parts will follow thereafter. As well as transparency is incredibly important to the board. So if there is any questions, while respecting any in-camera discussions, please reach out to the board's executive assistant, Mary Lou Archer, and we'll be able to make sure that we pass the rest of the information over. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't need 10 minutes at all.
I know.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Andrews.
Well, thank you very much, Worship. And Mr. Armstrong, thank you for being here. And again, congratulations on your appointment to the board, as well as your appointment to the board and Warren Maycock's appointment to the board. I'm very impressed. You end up asking us if we have any comments about the format. And again, kudos to Chair Taylor and Vice Chair as well, McSweeney, for the work that you've done, as well as Mary Lou Archer. The format, in my opinion, provides us with the clarity we need. Going through the tabs there, easy to follow. I think that to me was very important. Some highlights, and these are more comments as opposed to questions. Education and enforcement, glad to see that included. Community awareness. I know Ms. Archer has done incredible work for the grant applications, will continue to be leading that, and that to me is absolutely imperative to see what grant opportunities you have and the ones that are successful. Page 28 of the report, your action registry. I really like that layout because it identifies exactly the tangibles and the opportunities to highlight exactly what in fact has been accomplished. But what also struck a chord was your detachment commander reports. Both detachment commanders provided differences because again, different people, different leaders, different leadership styles, transition of our OPP. But I am really impressed by what I see, and I really have no comments other than what I've just mentioned at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Any additional questions from members of council? Seeing none. Wow, that's a first. And I will say it's probably because the board has done an exceptional job at making sure council is up to date regularly, more regularly than the past. And one final comment that I will make is the addition of the new members is fantastic. But a lot of work has gone into this, and it's a huge thanks to Vice Chair McSweeney and to Ms. Archer for their work. And I would hazard to say that we're probably the only detachment board in the province who is as far ahead with the requirements as we need to be. And it is in great part to the work that those people are doing. So a huge kudos for the work that you've all done. Deputy Mayor, did you want to add anything?
I love to talk, but I think you just absolutely nailed it. I'm so proud to be a part of the board, and so thrilled to have the new members come in. You're elevating us even further, and I think Orangeville should be proud of where we are and what we're doing. And it's incredibly organized and very thoughtful, and it feels great. So yeah, thank you, Your Worship.
Perfect.
If I could just for that, I just actually want to call it to Warren Maycock, Ian McSweeney, as well as our Ms. Archer, coming into the board this year. The amount of work that was done by the previous members was incredible. It was easy to come in. They did a fantastic job of making it simple and getting us up to speed. So I just want to call them out for that incredible work that they did.
I love that you've only been on the board for like a month and you were willing to do the presentation too. That's kudos to you for that. So thank you for doing that, Mr. Armstrong. It's great to have you. Up next, I will invite Ryan Ondesko, our Public Works Manager, to talk about water conservation initiatives. Ryan has asked ahead of time for 15 minutes total for his presentation. Can I have a motion to approve the extension, please? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Andrews, all in favor? And that's carried. Ryan, you do have 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes. But if like Mr. Armstrong, you want to only use 5, that's okay too. So you've got a very important topic though, so I will turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Post, and good evening, Mayor Post and members of council. My name is Ryan Ondesko, the Manager of Public Works. Thanks for having me here today to talk about what the town is doing to conserve water. I thought it was appropriate after the Law and Water and Bylaw a couple of weeks ago that I came and kind of explained some of the initiatives we are working on at the town of Orangeville. I will say I have a lot of content to cover in the next 15 minutes, so there are a lot of topics and projects I do not have time to speak to, but they can be found in the council report. So our current situation, the town has limited water supply capacity to service future developments beyond what is currently approved or in progress towards approval. Existing town wells have been in service for an average of 34 years. Several wells have experienced declines in efficiency and supply capacity. Unaccounted for water makes up a substantial portion of the town's total water production volume. From 2015 to 2019, this accounted for 19 to 27% of total treated water production. The MECP target is 10% or less. The staff have undertaken various initiatives to ensure the organization's needs of water conservation will allow for sufficient and sustainable water service in the town. So to note on the unaccounted for water, the town estimates that 10% of the water that is treated in Orangeville is lost in our system from leakage. The amount of unaccounted for water is high, and staff realize that a combination of both developing new sources, maintaining or rehabilitating existing sources, and changing water use practices in general are all important steps towards long-term sustainability. So I will provide a high-level overview of some of the key projects and initiatives that staff are working on to set our community up for long-term success. So I'm not going to list off every project that we're listing, but I thought this picture would be a good example showing some of the key pieces of equipment we use to assist in recovering lost water. The fire hydrant has our automated acoustic leak detection equipment strapped to the back of it in the gray box. The ear of the fire hydrant has a flow meter attached to it to monitor water flow during flushing activities, as well as a sample tap for taking water samples from. Underneath the sample tap is a chlorine handheld monitor, and we also have our manual acoustic leak detection equipment to the left of it. So for our automated acoustic leak detection pilot program, this shows a map of the service area. There's 6 fire hydrants, and shown here is a dashboard that staff use to monitor the status and data given from the automated acoustic leak detection program. There's 6 fire hydrants outfitted with the monitor and device with a range of approximately 1,500 feet. There's a need for overlap to assist in pinpointing exact locations of leakage. So far, the town's pilot program has successfully identified and resulted in the repair of 1 leak to date since the project start in mid-April. The first leak identified was wasting approximately 14 cubic meters of water per day, or 14,000 liters, for approximately 5,110 cubic meters of water lost per calendar year, if not found and repaired. From a financial perspective, if this same amount of water ran through your water meter, it would result in $20,000 in water and wastewater rates billed over 1 calendar year. As you can see in the map above, there are 3 other leaks identified and not yet repaired. And actually, since preparing this slideshow, another 3 leaks have been populated on the map. The large circles on John and Mill Street show a general area of 2 separate leaks, indicating that there is something, but the technology has yet to pinpoint its exact location. Whereas the smaller circle on Sarah Street show a more defined location of a known leak, which has yet to be repaired. This screenshot was taken on June 18th, and these 6 leaks, when repaired, will have further benefits to reclaiming lost water. So we're still on our automated acoustic leak detection pilot program. The graph shown here is from the dashboard provided by the third-party contractor. This is a good example of the other benefits of the technology, showing how all 6 fire hydrants saw immediate pressure changes during a water main break event on April 22nd, 2024. It clearly shows when the break started versus when Town Waterworks staff found and isolated the broken water main, showing an approximately 20-minute low-pressure event and response time. This data can be integrated into SCADA systems and provide alarming capabilities, allowing staff to determine approximate locations of high-flow events, whether from water main breaks, firefighting offense, or water theft offense. The distribution system data was never available to town staff before. And this data is extremely beneficial as it provides an opportunity for fine-tuning the town's water model and software to ensure simulated events for example, construction or development purposes are as accurate as possible. This also gives us the capability to determine in areas and residents affected from adverse effects or low pressure events and provides information on remedial actions for sampling and monitoring. So moving on to our manual acoustic leak detection program. This is a brand new initiative started in May 2024. Prior to, the town hired a third-party contractor to investigate potential leaks, and we had no success over the years, so we actually abandoned that program in 2019. We never found one leak. Now the town has procured their own equipment and training, and we're patrolling the areas of town with metallic water main with acoustic leak detection equipment. This equipment has a correlation device that allows staff to cover large areas of main to identify potential leaks and handheld devices to pinpoint exact locations to reduce excavation areas. Since May 2024, staff have found 2 leaks, one with an approximate water loss of 13 cubic meters or 13,000 liters per 24 hours. And it's actually this piece of copper that we pulled out of Montgomery Street. This piece of copper was measured to have an approximate size of 1/8 of an inch pinhole. You probably can't even see it from where you are. But it can attribute to 4,745 cubic meters of lost water per year, the equivalent of $19,000 in water and wastewater rates if it were to pass through your water meter. Please note that this type of leak grows larger over time as the water eats away at the outer walls of the copper pipe. So those calculations I just provided you are not accurate, as the size and quantity of water loss will exponentially grow over time as the leak progresses. The second leak was a 1/4 inch blowhole on the top of a spun steel water main on 4th Street last week, with an average pressure of approximately 100 PSI on 4th Street. This estimates to approximately 71 cubic meters or 71,000 liters of water lost every 24 hours. 25,915 cubic meters of water lost every year. And when compared to water wastewater rates, $104,437 per year. The total of these 3 leaks repaired since starting the town's first roll-on leak detection program since mid-2024 shows a water savings of 98 cubic meters per day with 36,000 cubic meters per year and $144,000 in water wastewater rates saved in just the first 3 months of this program. And we still have 6 known leaks that we still have to fix. And so not only from a financial perspective, but there is an effect on reducing our carbon footprint and greenhouse gas emissions by having to produce and supply less water by fixing these leaks. There is also a consideration that by conserving and using our drinking water more wisely, a significant decrease in average demand and usage could result in us requiring to build less infrastructure to sustain growth. We have water, but past practice was often to produce more water rather than use less. So we made significant adjustments to the way we operate the drinking water system. We revised our water main flushing and water quality monitoring programs. Our past practice was an annual flushing program which saw operators flushing every hydrant in town for a minimum of 5 minutes or until clean. This has been a known poor practice for many years in the industry. This past winter, staff sat down for many weeks and developed a unidirectional flushing program, which is used by many municipalities across North America and has been proven successful in maintaining or improving water quality while reducing water use significantly. The idea is to provide high velocity flushing in a predetermined direction through the manipulation of valves or zones to ensure large areas of main are scoured by only using one fire hydrant on a street rather than multiple. The new program is a biannual flush, monthly flush, and water quality monitoring program, focusing on our dead ends and extremities. So far, In the first month of the new program, staff have indicated a minimum reduction of 46% in water used in water main flushing programs, or 1,121 cubic meters in the month of May 2024 when comparing to data from May 2023, with no noticeable change in water quality. This reduction will be even more significant as the first portion of the biannual program was completed in May 2024. In the summer months, we'll see a reduction of over 90% each month when comparing to 2023 until October, when the second portion of the flush will begin. The old program, 2023 and prior, saw consistent water use through the months of April to October, roughly around 3,000 cubic meters per month. So our well rehabilitation underground inspection project, it's a continual program with some of it mandated to be done by the MECP with some best practices built in. The wells will continually be undergoing underground inspections every couple of years, with the rehabilitation equipment replacement every 10 to 13 years. The importance of this is it ensures equipment does not fail prematurely in the heavy demand months, and we are taking the wells offline for repairs and maintenance in controlled environments and timelines that suit our needs. The underground inspections are mandatory by the MECP. The photos in the slide are from late 2022, where you can see holes in deep pitting in the casings of wells 9A and B. These were repaired in early 2023 by installing a stainless steel liner in the casing of the well and grouting the casing, sealing the weak parts of the well off from pumping equipment. The underground inspections help identify these early, and we know about these prior to us performing rehabilitation works, whereas before, how we found this was when we went to make repairs on the well. So next steps. I wanted to speak about some of the items that staff will be working on or proposing to expand on to further continue with water conservation initiatives to set Orangeville up for success for a sustainable future. Please know I don't have time to talk about the SCADA system upgrade, which will be a critical project to make some of these other projects as successful as possible. We're also working on starting a rain barrel program soon, and we are working on seeking approval from the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks to use effluent water from the Water Pollution Control Plant for filling ours and third-party contractors' trucks and equipment for various activities such as sewer main flushing, stormwater main flushing, street sweeping, sidewalk cleaning, hydro excavation activities, catch basin cleaning, and watering of our downtown parks and flower beds. We do not anticipate approval for all the applications we are requesting, but we have been told that we will be able to get some of them. So the existing automated leak detection program has been a success, with some of the data provided being invaluable for operations, as well as identify a number of leaks in the system that we were unable to locate ourselves. Mind you, these 6 leaks that we found through our pilot program, we passed through this area with manual equipment and did not pick up on them. There are many benefits outside of leakage locating, such as SCADA integration of data collection of parameters such as location for pressure transients, identification of water theft, determine approximate areas of water main breaks immediately, and allow for more extensive and advanced water modeling data and simulations. A proposed project area is shown in the slides, and as you can see, the proposal shows some notable emissions to the distribution system. The technology is required to overlap slightly to be able to accurately pinpoint leaks, and the various pressure zones and extremities not covered in this proposal would require too many units in a small area. So this is where district water meters would come in to fill the gaps left by acoustic monitors. District water meters are a widely used process for determining where and how water in the distribution system flows. This technology and operational practice has been used extensively in the US for many years, with most utilities reporting extremely successful results. The DMAs are built by installing flow meters in specific locations of the distribution system, where integration with SCADA and the town's upgraded water meters can provide comparisons of data to calculate how much water enters the district meter area versus how much water is consumed by that area's residents and businesses. This allows real-time data to determine district meter areas where leakage is occurring, where there may be metering inaccuracies, illegal connections, and potential water theft. Integration with SCADA and the new upgraded water meters allow for long-term trending and the capability to set baseline expectations or quantity discrepancies to automate the ability to monitor and alert staff to investigate potential leakage rather than us manually monitoring the data and trying to come to these conclusions ourselves. A SCADA upgrade would be required for both these projects to really realize the full potential of these technologies. And the last one I'll speak to today is the Water Supply Master Plan. Town staff will be looking at retaining private sector consultants specializing in hydrogeology and water supply issues to evaluate the drilled sources located on town-owned sites and identify priorities for short-term, mid-term, and long-term water supply options. The study will include determining whether capacity may be restored through a combination of well rehabilitation and development works at underperforming wells, the potential for additional capacity at specific wells, redistributing water takings to maximize overall supply capacity, opportunities for new sources at existing locations not currently being used, opportunities for new well locations, and how we can improve the water quality at several sites. For example, there is potential for well 10 to have another well drilled on the property to provide a combined flow rate of approximately 50 liters per second, whereas it is currently 10 to 12 liters per second today. And I'm probably pretty close to the 15 minutes, so if there's any questions.
You did pretty good there. Was there questions from any members of council? Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you for your presentation. Very thorough and I think timely given where we're at with the reports that are coming and the concern in our community. I guess not really, well, maybe it's a question, but I'm thinking about what we need to do ongoing as we go forward. And I had the privilege of being in Calgary recently and, you know, worried about getting a shower because of the things that are going on in that town there with that city with the water issues that they're having. And I guess my concern is I want to make sure that we as a group, as a council and a leadership team within the town are going to grasp these issues and understand them ahead of time so that we're not going to have our issues. You know, when staff has sent out notes to us describing, oh, we've had a water main break, and it doesn't happen frequently, but my impression is I don't fret about it because it feels like you fix it awfully quickly. And I'd hate to be in a situation where we have a Calgarian event. So I guess my hope is that we come into budget time and you and your team are coming to us and saying these are the things that we proactively need and there's urgency to them and that we should be talking about them and thinking about what we need to invest before there's a problem. That's the conversations that I want to have as we go forward. And I thank you for being here today because it's been a lot of pressure on council as we've been discussing these things with the community and trying to explain why we're in the situation that we're in and why the town's taking the actions that we are. And it's a difficult thing to describe, but believe it or not, I followed along with everything that you were saying and doing and read the report in great detail. So thank you for everything that you've done. And I'm just saying to council, that'll be my focus as we go through budget this time, is I'm going to be looking at that, asking lots of questions about what we're doing to make sure that we're not going to have an event. So thank you very much for being here.
Councillor Andrews and then Councillor Sherwood.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you. And just to echo Deputy Mayor Taylor's point of view, you know, I don't want to see something catastrophic happen. And if you're prepared for anything that potentially is catastrophic, that means you can end up reacting relatively quickly. You know, I use the term wake up call. Calgary is one example. You know, climate change is another. But I think that we're certainly heading in the right direction. I was very impressed to also read about the DMAs, familiar with some of that activity in the US. Private property. And Mr. Koselleck knows of a particular situation that we had recently on a private property, which is in fact one of our retail malls where they had a fire hydrant. And just by happenstance, you know, I happened to be there and I heard this, you know, I'm not even a water expert when it comes to the acoustics of you tracking that. I don't have that kind of equipment at my hands, but there was a situation where there was obviously something happening and it was rectified very quickly. How many of these private property fire hydrants would you have on file just to take a look at? Because I know you're looking at the fire hydrants and the water system that we have predominantly that falls under the town's control, but what about those private locations where there are in fact fire hydrants that could be part of that leakage that you're referencing in your report here?
Through you, Mayor Post, that's a good question. So this automated acoustic leak detection program doesn't care if it's private or public property. We can pick up on leaks on public or private property. However, we cannot touch infrastructure on private property, but what we do have is our bylaw does have provisions in it for us to give notice to a property owner saying that you have a leak, you have X amount of time to repair it, or we can disconnect your service. So we do have that provision. Something like that would be a little extreme. And for fire hydrants specifically, they do follow the Ontario Fire Code, where the property owner should be maintaining them on a yearly basis and inspecting them for insurance purposes as well. So,
Thank you, Councillor Sherwood, and then Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Thank you, Ryan, very much for the great explanation, and to you and your team for some really positive conservation efforts. They look like they're going to be very positive. One of the things that I get asked as a councillor when people get their bill is they're charged exactly the same for the wastewater as they are for the water. And I'm wondering, is that pretty standard throughout everybody that is exactly the same? The wastewater, is it charged the same as water taking in? Doesn't necessarily, well, I guess it does all come out at some point somewhere, but that they're exactly the same? Is that standard throughout?
Through you, Mayor Post, that has been my experience. I'm not exactly sure if other municipalities follow a different approach for billing purposes. I will say that some of these calculations that I did provide, I provided in water wastewater rates just because it's relatable to the general public.
This is probably something we'll discuss further when the new proposed study comes up.
Thanks, Councillor Sherwood. Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Mayor Post, through you. Ryan, I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. I liked how you commenced by ensuring that our development doesn't outpace our water supply, which I think has kind of been top of mind for a lot of council. And the looking into using effluent for industrial use or town use, that is, I guess, it's non-potable water, effluent, is it?
It is not potable water. It is effluent from the wastewater treatment plant. It is disinfected at that point, and I have been told that we will get approval for some applications if it's coming back into the sanitary sewer system, such as sewer main flushing. The other topics might be a little more discussion with the ministry. There might be some requirements that we have to satisfy, such as additional disinfection at the point of contact for operators. We don't really know. It's not common for any municipality in Ontario at this point. Okay. I've only heard of one other approval in all of Ontario for using effluent water and wastewater treatment plant, but the ministry was upfront in telling us that we have approved it before. You should ask us.
Well, it sounds very progressive, and thank you for thinking outside of the box on this. And just as the chair of Sustainable Orangeville, I wanted to mention that we're working together in tandem with Public Works to look into a subsidized rain barrel program. So residents can look forward to information that's forthcoming on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prendergast. Any additional questions from members of council? No, seeing none. You're off the hook. Thank you so much for your presentation today. Up next, we have Brett Lagerquist. Is he here, or did he join us online? He was supposed to be here? What's that? Okay. Okay, so we will skip that one. I would like to go back just for a second to 13.1 because I do recognize that Ms. Hillock's correspondence was not recognized under correspondence and it was just attached to the delegation portion. So I think it's important from a council perspective that we receive that or discuss that ahead of time. So Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and I truly appreciate you circling back on this. And Ms. Hillock and Mrs. Hillock, thank you for being here. You happen to be a neighbor of mine, literally just around the corner, so it caught my eye when I saw your correspondence. And as your daughter has indicated that you would be willing to respond to any questions that we have. So the question I have is, you have obviously done your due diligence from the perspective of contacting plumbers, I guess a water softener specialist. But would you be able to confirm that, in fact, your water utilization was, in fact, significantly less, obviously, in January and then afterwards in, I guess, would have been April, May, and June? So is that correct?
We just need you to come up to actually speak into the microphone, just so otherwise it's not captured on the YouTube feed. So.
And it's very difficult to see her because of the sign that we have, at least where I'm sitting.
Damn, you get to do it. Okay.
It's not comfortable talking.
No, go ahead.
Yes, that's correct. So there was one large bill of about $2,100 for 1 month. So the month before and the month after were less.
Okay, not to get into the anecdotal information that was shared in the correspondence, but has there been correspondence with the appropriate department here with the town to get an explanation? Okay.
Yes, town staff have been great, and Matt and Tim spoke with my mother, and according to policy, they did approve a 50% reduction in the bill. So now we're asking for a full relief. I think we found Ryan's unaccounted for water.
Mr. Koslak, did you want to add anything to that?
Thank you, through your worship. Yes, we have been talking to Mrs. Hilcock about this a little bit. She had gone away for a little while, came back with a high reading. The town does have a policy for leak forgiveness. If people do have a high water bill, typically you have to be in your residence at the time when it happens, and you have to know what caused the issue. In this case, they weren't sure, and they had gone away for a couple months, although she had said her daughter had come in to see the house. So we had done the leak forgiveness policy, which was approved by council to waive up to 50% of the bill above the average. Typically, the water meters don't read unless they go through it. They're a physical meter. You physically have to have water go through it to turn it. So the water would have gone through the meter. One of the issues quite often if people are away is water softeners. A lot of them, when you run out of salt, even it'll detect you don't have softened water and it'll keep cycling. They're not sure what the issue was, but we had implemented the leak forgiveness policy in accordance to the approved council policy.
Thank you, Mr. Koslak. Councillor Andrews, do you have anything else to add?
Again, I firmly believe in the policy that we have. You know, as much as we've had other residents in the past who have come to council and have indicated their concerns with their water consumption, even when they're not there, I think the 50% that we have implemented is more than fair, because again, we have no information other than what has been shared to council at this point, and we also have to trust our staff who are also experts in this area.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. So to council then, I would ask for one of two things, either a motion to receive the correspondence or any different motion that you'd like to put on the floor. So anybody have a suggestion? Otherwise, we'll go with a motion to receive. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's such an awkward thing because I know this is an extremely frustrating event. I just have to align with what your comments are, Councillor Andrews. And I think whenever we're going to say something that the residents aren't going to enjoy, we should have, the transparency to say why. And I just wanted to provide that to you. And I'm sure that's not going to be popular, but I think we need to stick to where we are. So I would make the motion that we receive the documentation.
Okay, can I have a seconder to put that motion on the floor? Councillor Stevens and Councillor Prendergast, you had something to add?
Thank you, Mayor Post, through you. I recognize that $1,000, a reduction of $1,000 still leaves you with an onerous bill. But your absence from your residence, I think makes me comfortable agreeing with Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor Taylor. Had you been there, I maybe would have thought differently. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments from members of council? Okay, then all in favor. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, so we are now at the part of the program where we're going to go into the consent agenda. The following items have been compiled under the consent agenda to facilitate a single vote for council consideration. Council may remove any item from the consent agenda for individual consideration. Was there any items that any member of council wanted to remove? Councillor Andrews and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to extract from the consent 14.1.1, which is sponsorship and advertising.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to bring forward 14.1.3, which is the sign variance. And I would also like to talk about 14.1.6, which is 60 to 62 Broadway.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other members of council? Nope. Okay, so the recommendation is that all consent agenda items for the current council meeting listed under 14.1 staff reports, 14.2 correspondence, and 14.3 committee board minutes be received or approved as presented, with the exception of the items removed for individual consideration, which include 14.1.1, 14.1.3, and 14.1.6. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Prendergast, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. 14.1.1 we will deal with individually. Councillor Andrews, I will start with you.
Thank you again, Your Worship. And this would be, I guess, directed to Ms. Savage. First of all, I want to compliment you and your team for putting this report together. Long overdue. I know that we've had kind of, and I don't want to make this sound inconsiderate, but I think we've had kind of things all over the place. And now this solidifies a process that can be managed properly, be that how you've structured it. Again, the point that I wanted to make is baseline comparatives. So when we take a look at naming rights, so the naming rights aren't officially part of this. Where does that sit? Because not to say that we're going to be inundated with a variety of different entities that are going to come forth and say, look, I want to end up, and this, for those of us who've been on council long enough, we recall, of course, that being discussed about the Alder complex. There was all kinds of talk that we were going to have some kind of incredible naming rights. Where does that sit? And is it a separate component? Okay, I'd just like to hear your explanation for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Post. Yes, Councillor Andrews, it is not a part of this policy. We will follow up with a naming rights policy separate to this.
Any additional questions on this item? Okay, the recommendation is that report CMS 2023-52 sponsorship and advertising policy be received, and that council adopt the sponsorship and advertising policy as outlined in attachment 1, and that council delegate primary authority to the community services general manager and secondary authority to the divisional managers in order to sign and execute sponsorship and advertising contracts. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Stevens, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. 14.1.3 sign variance application. Deputy Mayor, I'll start with you.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Worship. I saw the sign, the visual sign that's there. I think it looks lovely. My position remains that we have a bylaw, and I always think it's odd. Like, if the bylaw is no longer appropriate, and we've had a bunch of these things come forward, then we should review the bylaw and change the bylaw. If not, then we need to vote this down and say no. It's on our main strip. I think it's an important thing that we have consistency here. And I just don't understand why we bring them forward if we're not going to respect the bylaw that we have.
Was there a member of staff who maybe wanted to speak to this item about why this one was recommended for approval? Ms. Martel?
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Taylor. So we do have a bylaw in place that provides those stipulations, but also within that bylaw provides the opportunity for members of the public to come forward and request a variance, much like our zoning bylaw offers that same kind of opportunity. So there's a general view for an area. However, it's up to council whether or not they want to permit a specific area within that general view area to be a little bit different if it's not impeding any of the anything within the neighboring areas.
Councillor Sherwood?
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Can staff confirm that the sign that's there now, is that the new sign, or they're wanting to replace it with a different sign? Because I drove by and looked at that sign and it looks like it's this sign.
Ms. Martel?
I'm actually not sure if it's the one that's currently there, whether this is a proposal for a new one, or whether they were notified that they were in violation and then notified that they had to go through this process. I am not aware of what has happened in this regard.
So if I'm correct here, that individual was going to delegate and did not show? Okay. Like that, he was 13.6, right? Did not show. So I tend to agree along the lines of Deputy Mayor. We've implemented bylaws for a specific person, a purpose, and I don't see why we would approve this based on our current bylaws.
Councillor McIntosh, then Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Just a comment, going back in history, I still think we need the ability to allow a sign. I go back to the Best Western Hotel. Their sign was 10, 12 times bigger than what the bylaw was going to allow. But how do we tell Best Western out in the hill that that sign is offensive? And it's been there, no, it's not offensive. So I still think we need the ability. If we turn it down, that's fine. I agree with that, but we still need the ability to be able to have these come forward, I think. Thank you.
Councillor Stevens.
Through you, Your Worship, I agree with all the comments. I'm going to vote no on this one, but just knowing that I think we have the bylaw in place, and unless there's something that's, you know, really outrageous or something, I feel the bylaw should be worked through.
Any additional questions or comments from members of council? Okay, so CAO Smith?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to comment that it would be good if we had specific feedback. I do note that there is another sign variance application on the agenda, so it would be appropriate to treat them consistently. So if there's something specific that the council doesn't support with this particular one, rather than it's just against the sign variance bylaw, because there are two on the agenda tonight.
Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Prendergast.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Worship. CAO Smith, that's a great comment. Candidly, Broadway's our main artery. I think it's very important that we have a consistent look. The other sign is on a building at a softball field that is within a community, and I don't see them tied together. So I didn't find that the softball one was an issue. However, Broadway, our main artery, it needs to be maintained. The grass needs to be cut. The bushes need to be looking nice. It's important that that's what we're seeing, and I just can't do that for Broadway, and that's my thinking.
Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Mayor Post. Just to echo what Deputy Mayor Taylor said, Orangeville Minor Baseball, is fundraising through the use of those signs, and that is also on Town Line, not a major thoroughfare. I know that it's important to the Minor Baseball League, and they are working with the town and adhering to bylaws in the future. So that's the difference that I see.
Okay, was there any additional questions or comments? Councillor Stevens.
Through you, Your Worship, this goes to Ms. Savage. So if that's town property for the baseball ones, does that not fall into the same policy that you're going through, like sponsorship and et cetera?
Ms. Savage?
Thank you, Mayor Post. To you, Councillor Stevens. The new policy does address third-party advertisement on town property. So in the past, baseball group has requested to put signs up on the fence, and we have said no, or temporarily during a game. The shack is owned by the baseball group. We own the land, but they own the shack, and that's why in this case it's a bit different.
Okay, so we have a couple of ways we could proceed here. We can move ahead with the motion that's recommended here, and we can choose to vote it down. We can have a separate motion put on the floor to not grant the variance, or we have a third option, which could be to defer the item to the next council meeting, because I know there was some question as to whether that's the existing sign or not, and whether we want to give Mr. Lagerquist a chance to come back and speak to council as a delegation. So I think there's three options, and the will of council is there. So if somebody wants to make one of those motions, I would open the floor. Councillor Andrews.
Your Worship, number 3.
Motion to defer?
Correct.
Okay. Can we take a motion to defer, Ms. Martel? Would that be all right? And defer it to the July 8th council meeting, have some correspondence with Mr. Lagerquist to see if that's the existing sign that's already been put up that received an issue, because I think that'll play a part in our decision going forward as well. Can I have a seconder to defer? Councillor Stevens, any last questions or comments? All in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, Your Worship. I just wanted to take note of the heritage characteristic of that particular building. It does fall outside of the district. I don't recall off the top of my head if it's on the non-designated registry. But again, like our colleague mentioned, there's a significant difference to our downtown, and specifically that abuts our historical downtown, the perception of driving through there compared to the baseball diamonds. So I'm going to support this motion. I was actually wanting to actually deny it for those particular reasons, but I'm willing to go along with my colleagues here.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll call the vote on that. A motion to defer, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Item 14.1.6 is 60 and 62 Broadway, the holding symbol. Deputy Mayor, you pulled that one. I'll let you have first crack.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Worship. So I guess my question would be to Mr. Ward. The holding symbol makes sense to me. I know we're going through a process and it's linear in fashion and we're certainly progressing towards things. The development is odd to me. We've stalled. There's nothing going on, and I'm just curious, outside of the holding symbol, is there any other updates or things that the public or council should know about that very focal development? Because it's strange.
Mr. Ward?
Thank you, Mayor Poston, through you. So the developer's essentially waiting for this exercise, the holding symbol removal. That enables a site plan agreement to be executed and allows them to obtain their building permit. Work has been undertaken so far with respect to remediation on the property. There's some brownfield conditions that had to be rectified. That's some of the site alteration activity that's occurred. I think they've made some good headway there. They're probably wrapping things up. As you've indicated, things have sort of stalled out there, and now this is the next step.
Any additional questions? You're good? Okay, so the recommendation is that report INS 2024-36, 60 to 62 Broadway, holding zone symbol removal recommendation be received, and that the bylaw included as attachment number 3 to this report be passed to remove the holding zone symbol from the lands known municipally as 60 to 62 Broadway. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Sherwood, seconded by Councillor Prendergast. Any last questions or comments? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We will now move into notices of motion prior to meeting. We have none. Was there any notices of motion tonight at tonight's meeting from anybody? Seeing none, we will go into announcements. Any announcements from any members of council? Oh, seeing none. Quiet night. We will move right into bylaws then. The recommendation is that all bylaws for the current council meeting listed under item 18, bylaws be read 3 times and finally passed. The bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 22 to 90 is amended with respect to part of lots 1, 3, 4, and 5, block 4, registered plan 138, municipally known as 60 to 62 Broadway. A bylaw to appoint Mandeep Jahaj as acting treasurer for the town of Orangeville, and a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the town of Orangeville at its closed and regular council meetings held tonight, June 24th. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Councillor McIntosh and Councillor Sherwood, all in favor. And that is carried unanimously. Go Oilers. Have a good night.